have aquatic resources. So one of the main resource is water. So our sources of water that are used for or potentially useful. Okay. So we um, can actually we are bounded with waters. But the question is, are these waters available for use or for human use? So aside from it provides habitat for aquatic organisms, so how does a particular type of water can be used by humans? Since again, we are discussing we are having this particular discussion centered to human and human impacts. Okay. So this is the composition of water of the earth. So we have this total Earth's water, which is 95% salt water or water in major oceans or seas, and only 3% of that is available for human use, which is particularly fresh water. So the composition of this 3% is 68.7% ice caps and glacier, and I think this is already lower. It's because of melting of ice in the both Arctic and Antarctic region, and 30% of that is groundwater, and only 0.3% is surface water, and you have 0.9% for other types of fresh waters. For surface water, 87% are in the lakes, um, swamp is 11%, and for rivers, you have 2%. So that is the Earth's distribution of water. So in terms of potable water, we tend to consume fresh water. Okay. However, there are already technologies used in somewhere in the Middle East that could actually extract fresh water from salt water. However, that technology is very expensive, so that's why water in those particular areas is also expensive. So in this case, as we are using or we are looking into this distribution, you can actually say that there is a minimal amount of water that's available for human consumption or for human needs. Okay, so only a small portion, for example, if we try to extract groundwater as potable water, that is the 3% of the 30.1% of the 3% that is just available in other types of surface water. And this take note that this particular composition of fresh water is dependent on the amount of precipitation. Okay, so we are just fortunate enough that we are located in the tropical region or tropical part of the earth, and precipitation is as higher as compared to other areas. So we have this luxury of using this one. However, there are some areas, particularly in the Philippines, I assume that you are also aware that there is also uh, the reduction on the available water for human consumption. Okay, so this became problematic on the utilization of water. It is because the available amount is very few for a wide or a large number of people using water or primarily using water as a resource for domestic or other purposes. Okay, so in this case, water resource conservation is needed. So, what are the different purposes or uses of water? First, you have here for agriculture. So, water is used for as an irrigation. Okay, so, hindi po tayo makakagrow ng palay maliban na lang if you have the upland rice or rain-fed rice. But technically, for conventional rice farming, you need irrigation for the proper growth and development of rice. Aside from rice, other agricultural crops are also in need of water. So, in terms of water utilization in agriculture, the higher percentage of water utilization is pointed onto the use of water in producing food for livestock. So there is now the expansion of livestock production, and then that particular expansion needs a wide area for their food, and particularly plants or forages. And the growing of forages needs water irrigation. So that is um, one of the highest uh, type of production in agriculture that uses large amount of water. So there are also industries. Of course, industries are using water as part of their processes. Okay, so in order to wash their raw materials or cooling of some of their engines or turbines, um, of course, water is being used for domestic purposes and even for drinking. Yan. And aside from that, there's what we so called hydroelectric power companies, just like of Aboitiz, previously that is headcore, using water flow as a source of energy. So ayan. And then water is used for leisure and recreation. Yan, yung mga magagandang rivers na ginagawang um, uh, tourist spot or for leisure purposes. Ayan. So primarily, water is used for drinking. Ayan. So, sa composition pa lang ng katawan ng tao, which is um, of higher percentage sa cells pa lang mismo ng tao, 90% of the cells is made up of water. So we cannot deny the fact, or we cannot deny our reliance to water as an important resource. And also, some of the products that we are using, specifically to so-called the food that we eat, are from bodies of water, which uses water as as their habitat. Okay, so we have the fishes. There are yung seafood na gustong gusto ng iba. Ayan. So these are organisms or aquatic organisms that we tend to use. So there are also algae, seaweed na ginagamit in some products like plastics for medicine. Yan, ginagamit. So nasa aquatic ecosystem or aquatic organisms. Okay. So there are also some bodies of water that is parang nagiging uh, daanan ng trade, kumbaga, or parang nagiging bridge for trading. Okay? Nagiging daanan ng mga bangka for exchange of materials or kahit anong mga sakayang pantubig, yan, para matawid or mag-exchange ng material. So, isa din yun sa mga use ng bodies of water. And of course, yung recreation na both in freshwater and saltwater, yung mga beaches, mga ganyan. So, yun yung isang gamit ng bodies of water or aquatic resources. Okay. So, we have a Republic Act 9275, the Clean Water Act, which is designated by the DENR on the different classification of water. Okay, so protecting one of these main goal is protecting water quality and sewerage and septage management. So, a wastewater disposal, may different categories yan siya. On some of the improved municipalities just like or cities just like Taguig, they have what's the so-called waste treatment facility. So pwede sila mag-produce ng clean water after no process yung mga wastewater na pumupunta sa kanila. So it needs high amount of investment pa din. Kaya hindi lahat nagkakaroon ng waste treatment facilities. Okay. So nag-a-assign, there are different classifications on the water depending on its usage. Kung siya ba ay pot for potable water, for recreation, or for domestic purposes. May mga classification siya. I think that's under DNR Administrative Order number 30, if I'm not mistaken. So that is the classification of water based on its use. Okay. So primarily, water is life. It supports life. So there is a need to conserve water. Okay? Kung babalikan mo yung distribution ng water, konting-konting water lang available on an increasing or rapidly increasing population of human race.